Hey, apparently there is at least one of you watching, so welcome to the Sim channel to this late night live stream. I'm currently, I just noticed I forgot to set up my window for F1 2019, which is the first game I want to try tonight. Feel free to say hi in the chat. Okay, now let me enlarge the chat so that I can see if anybody out there has something to say. Okay, why can I not increase the size of the chat? Huh. Oh well. We'll probably just have to have good eyes then later on. So, I mean, even if it's just one person watching right now, agenda for the night is to test my new Heusinkveld sprint pedals some more, to set up the DD1 for F1 2019, because yeah, it's not the newest version. I know F1 2020 has been out just a couple of days, I guess, or a week or two. But I just don't want to spend the money right now. I heard that the physics is supposed to be pretty much the same in the force feedback, so I'm gonna stick with F1 2019. It looks the same, feels the same. I don't care about up-to-date liveries too much. I only bought this a few weeks ago, 2 months ago maybe. I don't know, and I haven't really set up my DD1 for it yet. And that's one thing that I want to do tonight. Other than testing the sprint pedals some more, maybe tweaking them in the software a little bit. Yeah. I guess let me know if the volume levels are problematic in any way. Otherwise, I'm just gonna head out to the track and do some driving. Now, if you're thinking I can't drive, that's true, but also I have very little experience with this game as a whole, with my pedals, with these force feedback settings. And also the track is not one that I've got too much experience with. So much for all of my excuses. So one thing that feels really weird is the force feedback here in this game is very rattly and harsh, and I don't know if you can hear any of that through the microphone, but it doesn't feel right. It feels like my wheelbase is breaking. Let's try one left here. I really need to make sure I have a look at the recommended settings for this game, because honestly this doesn't feel right. Okay. Since this lab is gone now anyway. Volume is pretty low, you say. Are you referring to the game volume, to my voice? Because I'm aware that my voice volume, my microphone volume is pretty low, but it's already maxed out on the computer. Oh, and thank you for the advice. Yeah, let me pull the interpolation up then. Let's see if that really does do the trick. I'm going to 15. That does make it a lot better. Thank you. I will nonetheless check the recommended settings in a bit. Yeah. FEI 80. Thank you. Let me check if that gives me even better results here. I like it. Yeah, I got distracted by the chat. The problem is the chat is so small that I really need to turn my head to be able to read anything. But yes, what's up to you too, Eula or Jewel? Oops. Yeah, this track really keeps you on your toes. There's a couple of turns here that I haven't figured out yet. But also I'm still trying to come to grips with the physics model. It feels a bit, well, it's not entirely a simulation to the likes of ACC, RF2, and so on. AMS2, I guess, can be named in that list as well. But I believe this game can be a lot of fun. The driving model is very accessible. It's very easy to get into it. And unlike some other Simcade or arcadey games, this one does work properly with the wheels, so that's nice.
So far, our fastest lap is a 1 minute 20.4.
What? Wait. Any foreseeable changes with the new update? This is F1 2019. I talked to Dom at Fnatic today, and he said, well, F1 2020 feels pretty much like F1 2019. So I figured I'm not just gonna spend those $50 or whatever it is. And yeah, I'm sorry that I'm playing on now a year-old game, but since it's essentially the same, I just wanted to give it a shot. And now I'm realizing that I'm hearing my own voice through the laptop. I don't know if you guys heard an echo, guys and gals. Eula, ACC. I did buy the GT4 pack to that. This is not ACC, but I will probably go into ACC a little bit later. Momo, does it? I don't know. I feel like I want to get to grips with this one first, and F1 2020, I'll see about that sometime later. for now, I'm gonna stick with this, and I'm still getting acquainted to this, well, Simcade style physics. So excuse the term. I don't mean that in a derogative way. I grew up with Gran Turismo, which is the icon of Simcade, right? Um, a lovely game. GT3, like GT1 through 4 is what I grew up with. So yeah, I don't use that word derogatively. Anyway, still getting used to it. So for now, I don't want to spend those $50. One thing that I can probably show you guys though, for I'm not sure if I want to use it today or later, but let me quickly grab it once I remember where I put it, because I got something in the mail today. Freaking cable, let go of me. Oh, it's back there. Cable long enough? Yes. Okay, so I got a nice little box today from my former employer. No, don't sit on the stick. Okay. And inside that box is this little nicety. Lovely looking wheel, if you ask me. And what's even better about this isn't which was a surprise to me, by the way. As you can see here, this one came with the advanced pedal module pre-installed, but I've got the new Club Sport shifter mount in the box as well. So I now have over here a modded standard shifter with a 3D printed magnetic shifter mod. Then I've got the advanced pedal module here, and I've got the Club Sport magnetic shifter pedal module, whatever it's called, in the box as well. So I'm gonna try and make a comparison video probably over the weekend, if I find the time. But I guess I should. I have the next 2 weeks off, so a bit more time than usual maybe to do some work for the channel. Yeah, I mean, don't worry about the G29 though. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of really good sim racers use the G29 or what's it called, 920? 920? It's another, I think it's the same thing, more or less. Or G25, G27. My first ever wheel when I was 13, probably, was also a Logitech, the Driving Force GT. Those are still not that bad, and I think, yeah, you can get along with those, and over time, I think it's you can hopefully probably upgrade at some point. But yeah, I used the T500 for about 5 years until I got the DD1. Even when I already had the channel, I was still on the T500, and I realized it's a little bit better than the Logitechs, but still, as long as you're having fun. Right, so I guess I'm just gonna go and restart this lap. No, actually, hang on a second. I will briefly see if I can find the Fanatic recommended settings for this one. Of course, I should have prepared this before going into the stream, because now you're just gonna watch me operate a computer. Forum, I guess, on the Fanatic website, and then I guess Fanatic hardware, wheelbases, podium wheelbases. Oh, search for recommended. Okay. F1 2020. PS4. Maybe I should look for F1 2019. Nah, I don't know. I don't find it right away. I'm not sure if links can be posted in the YouTube window, if the chat allows for links to be posted. But if it does, I wouldn't mind getting a link to the right page, so I don't have to waste minutes on stream here. Yeah, okay. So Memorious, Momo, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Memorious. Yeah, Dom wanted to test and post new recommended settings for F1 2020 and possibly combine with F1 2019 tonight or maybe in the next couple of days. So we'll see if that still says interpolation 3. But it makes me wonder, before there was that interpolation thingy in the wheelbase, which came about, I want to say in early this year, in January, February. It came with a firmware update. Before that, how did people use this game? Because yeah, I kind of agree. It's you need to do a lot of interpolation and a lot of FEI reduction to get it somewhere smooth. Anyway, going back on track here.
Last lap was a 1:20.0.
Car doesn't like curb on that place. know what? I gotta change some settings of the car here. Let me quickly see. Okay. Yeah, I see. Thanks for the update, Memorius. You appear to be quite the expert on the F1 games, which is nice. That I feel like that could be of use. One thing that I noticed, I mean, I couldn't find all of the button mappings in the menu. I feel like there's a couple missing. I didn't see like engine modes and differential and brake balance and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a bit weird. And what else was I missing? A steering ratio setting. That is. I think that's not in the game actually. Where's my car setup?
There's a huge amount of time to be won and lost in the pits.
What? Huh? Preferences? Use rival setup, race regular tutorials, contract end session. No. Yeah, sorry, I'm really new to this game and I have no idea where things are in the menu. I would feel that in a garage, like the car setup is like the most important menu, right? So it shouldn't be too far hidden, but it's not in the preferences. Go settings, use race director, tutorials, contract. No, it's not. Where is it? Do I have to press some weird button here? F1 is session info. Go to top, find me, select back, help. The settings on page MFD shortcut. Well, where? How do I get there? Car setup. You can choose any of 5 car presets by what? No. I don't want. Come on, there's gotta be more to it than that, right? I guess, I don't know which one is best here, maximum or increased? Let's go maximum. Okay. Fuel load, grayed out. What? Huh? How do I navigate this menu? Oh, wait. Again. Okay. Found the buttons for it. Okay, fuel load is fixed. Aerodynamics, okay. Yeah, but I feel like maybe not just that much rear wing. Maybe 9.9. 9.9. Differential adjustment, okay. I usually like pretty high differential settings, 75%. Okay, let's go with it. Camber toe. Okay, yeah, okay, this is quite detailed. This is nice. Brake pressure, front brake bias, I guess. Tire pressure, yeah, I don't know. I would have to see my temperatures and my pressures on the road to judge if I want more or less. But I think this is fine. Now I gotta find the button that, oh. No, save car setup, yeah, okay. Let's do that. File name. Test. Got a creative day today. Okay. What? No, I don't want to override. I just want to leave the menu. Use the setup. Okay. Yeah, especially if the buttons are something different in every menu. In other menus, like in the title menu of the game, I can switch through the tabs on the top with these buttons. But then in that setup menu, I need to push the 2 on the top left of the steering wheel for some reason. Anyway, Go to track, flying lap. Here we go. Wait a second, where's the traction control? Preferences, controls, vibration and force feedback. Seems legit. Because I feel like the traction control is a bit ambitious. Okay. Like, do I have to wait 5 seconds for this to do anything? Is this normal? Alright, okay, keyboard preset. We probably want to go into the this one. Edit. Okay, control scheme, that seems right. Activate the, can I wish this menu would show me when I press a button, because like I have no idea what button 8 is on my wheel. There are no numbers on this, so this is a bit annoying. Pit limiter is probably the one that, okay. Oh, I guess I know which one 8 is. Is it? No, come on. Yes, okay. MFD push to talk gear 1 through 6 menu controls. No, I want the traction control setting. Because there is traction control on this car. But F1 cars don't have traction control, so it might make sense if it's not a setting in the menu. Then in that case it would not be a menu setting, but rather a assist setting somewhere. Generic setting? No, that's not it. Hey Tom, yeah, thanks. Good to be back, I agree. There's assists. Traction control full. Okay, medium, or is there no low setting? I mean, we're not in kindergarten, so turn it off. Okay. I'm predicting a spin in turn 1. Almost. One other thing I will do is set up the sensitivity, which is typically on 360. I will go down to 300 degrees just to give me a little bit more steering ratio, I guess, or a little bit smaller steering ratio, because I feel like I have to turn the wheel way too much in those tighter turns, and there is no steering ratio setting for the car, which is a bit weird, but I was told today that in the F1 Esports series, the pro drivers, they use anything between 240 and 420 degrees of rotation. Almost nobody like just sticks to the 360, I guess. And I definitely want to try with something below 360 as well. So let's see if 300 gets me where I want to be. Whoa, whoa. Gotta readjust a little bit now to the missing traction control and different steering racer. Oh, shit. But this track is a lot of fun, to be honest. Also, this game is like... Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. But I feel like this is getting a bit boring, especially for those of you out there who are just watching and not driving. So I will end this session because the settings are fine now, and that was my main goal for this stint in F1 2019. Let me actually see, do I get an overview like what place of the leaderboard I am? I'm aware I'm far down the ranks, but F2? No, oh, that's my Steam. Go back to the game. How do I get rid of this Steam overlay now? No! Come on. I'm lost, I hate this. Oh, there's force quit? No. Click here to the... Yeah, okay. Return to the game. Great. I guess view super license. I don't see any rankings, maybe in stats. Online ranked. Oh, there's nothing. Oh well, I don't care. By the way, my impression so far of the sprints is they are, if you're used to the pros already, then they're a pretty. Uh, it's not a big adjustment or anything. They are certainly better in some respects, but when you're just driving and in the heat of the moment, you won't really notice it much. The clutch can be made a little bit stiffer. Actually, it can be made stiff enough, definitely. And I'm surprised to say I'm not using it in the stiffest setting. So I went to the stiffest. I felt it was a bit too stiff, and I backed off a little bit again. What I would still like for the clutch to have is an earlier bite point, because it feels like the bite point is about 2/3 of the way into the pedal. And after the bite point, there is a relatively short amount of travel left until you hit the end of it, the stop at the end. And oh, come on, how can I end this session? What's the deal here? How difficult could it be? Are you sure you want to leave the session? Okay, I am. I've got to press enter here. It's weird that escape brings you back to the track, but enter makes you escape this scenario. Anyway, quit it. Okay, for some reason I'm seeing the chat here on my window screen earlier than on my laptop. Or maybe the laptop has lost the connection. Anyway, LED porn freak. No, I'm. Right now, to be honest, I didn't have any on-wheel LEDs going on right now, even though I think I activated it in the Fan Lab, but it may require some additional tweaking the software. But that's actually, it's probably something that I need to do, tweaking the game, I mean. But right now, since you don't see those LEDs here on the rim anyway, it's not that important. So, oh, what the hell, let's go into ACC and drive some GT4s. For that, I will quickly swap the wheels. And I'm going with this one now. It's not accurate. There's only one car in game, I think, that uses a wheel like this still. That's the Porsche Cup car, which is the actual car that this wheel is built for. But did I not do it right? Hang on. Tighten first, then slide on, then tighten more. Okay, should be better. Quit the game? No, wait. Single player. So this wheel is, wait. International GT Challenge. Right. What's this car? No, this is one number 2 big. And the chat still isn't updating here on my laptop. Why is that? Or maybe it was just the last message that didn't get here, I don't know. Can somebody write something in the chat, please? Just so I can confirm that the chat is still working on my laptop. That would be great. So, what are we doing? Okay, none of these cars. This is the one that I was looking for that I wanted to briefly discuss. So, if I go here and then team selection, there's also only one portion. It's not the right one. If I go to the GT4 selection, there's the Cayman, which is not the car I'm talking about. Let me see, 2018. There we go. This is the car I was talking about. Only one team available. Which of these guys looks most like me? None of them. Pierre-Yves Pac. I like the glasses. But Gilles Petit. That's not a good porn name. Anyway, let's go with him. Let's just give this car a quick spin around some nice track. How about? Yeah, I'm a bit like James. I always prefer Brands Hatch for everything. We've just done the Angara Ring, but let's go Mont Panorama. That's a great track too. And go. I hope everything is still calibrated in this game. I've always been a fan of the Cup car, to be honest. I've loved it since the beginning, pretty much. And if you say it's gotten even better, then that sounds great to me.
Green light, go, go, go.
Oh, hang on. I should load my ACC. What? My ACC profile in FanLab. ICC load. Yes. Okay. Something changed. That looks a lot better. And wait, but I gotta adjust the view. Pitch. And height. Because you may not realize this from your point of view, but I'm sitting extremely low compared to the screen, and I've probably sometime in August I'm getting a I guess self-designed adapter so I can hang the screen a little bit lower on the stand. Right now my eyes are pretty much on the level as the yellow center strip on the steering wheel on the screen. So my eyes are on a fairly low level, and that is the point that I want to bring the horizon to, because that is the correct field of view. And if you've seen my video on field of view, you may know that I am a sucker for correct field of view. So let's see. Pitch. Yeah, this looks about right. Maybe 11 and a half. Okay. A bit further back. Yes. Yes. Good. The steering wheel is in my is completely blocking my view right now. So I guess I'm just gonna put it to the same height so that it's perfectly covered by my actual steering wheel. So yeah, this way I can see something of the track. That's nice. And I quickly mentioned this is not the Fnatic replica. This is the real deal that I have here. I'm a bit proud of that. Also, I still have to justify the amount of money spent on that. Oh, ew. Well done, Leon. First turn, first crash. It's a totally different force feedback feel in this game compared to F1 2019. Right now the force feedback is a bit on the strong side. Yeah, Memorious, have a good evening. Take care and see you in the next stream. I will in the meantime... So my force feedback was set to 100%. I will turn it down to, I guess, 80. It's not that it's like too extreme, and if you're using the linear mode, then all but the peak forces are linearly, well, not probably, yeah, linearly turned down, and that just gives the wheel a little more headroom, I guess, for the peak forces. So 100% force feedback on linear mode is not that bad, but it felt a bit extreme right now in my hand, so yeah. Luke, Laguna. Well, now I'm on Mount Panorama, and I feel like I want to stay here for at least a little bit. So quickly going through the settings here. Natural friction, natural inertia. I'm a sucker for high friction and, well, usually also a bit higher natural inertia settings. Right now though I had the impression that I may have overdone it a little bit on that front. Interpolation on 3, intensity on 100, and the rest will be 100 everywhere. Okay, let's go. Okay, wrong button. Where's my go button? That's the one. So there's one difference in the force feedback between, let's say, Assetto Corsa, and even more so, I guess, ACC, and the RF, RF2, and AMS games. And that is the the Assetto Corsas, they always feel like they have a bit of a center spring kind of thing. The wheel, I don't want to trash talk them in any way, but and you get used to that after a while. But there is very little friction in the steering by itself, and then the wheel is very lively, and it has the tendency to just want to move back to the center. And I feel like I have to use a lot of oh, it's low-flying clouds on the left here. I feel like I have to use a lot of natural friction to get a bit more of a realistic steering feel. That reminds me, I need to remind Aris to test some proper settings, because I talked to him after one of his streams. He was driving some GT3s in ACC, and I asked him about his force feedback settings because he has a DD2 wheelbase, and he gave me some settings, but for old, very old firmware version of the DD2, the one that didn't even have the interpolation and all the other sweet stuff, inertia. So he was still in a very old version, and he told me he would not want to upgrade until the GT4s came out, since they've now been out for like a week or so. I feel like he must now upgrade to the newest firmware. And I would probably give him my best settings and try to get him to try those. By the way, if you out there feel that my driving here is slow, yes it is. It's not a track that I'm too familiar with. He said it crashed, proving his point. But I like it, I want to train it. I feel like Laguna will be a nice track maybe for one of the GT4s later. I like how this car is a bit like nervous on the brake. You can't really brake it hard in a straight line. Gotta be on your toes. At least in the downhill section at the end of the long straight. I guess I'm gonna do a couple more laps in this car because it's just fun. But yeah, I am feeling Laguna. Maybe you can already tell me which GT4 you like best, and then I can try that one. every time I brake, it makes me wish I had one of these things that kind of simulate a racing harness. Well, a racing harness with a thing that simulates the G-forces. Because I think that will go a long way in increasing the immersion. So it's something that I want to look into, because I think it's altogether it's not that shouldn't be too expensive. I mean, racing harnesses can be bought at I think reasonable prices. I'm thinking 150 euros, something in that range. And then you just need a motor that that pulls on that thing. So it can be a rotating motor. It shouldn't break the bank. I'm thinking maybe 500 euros for such a system, and if that would give you anywhere near the immersion that I think it would, might be well worth it. Especially compared to motion systems. The best experience I've had in terms of motion sims, I guess, was the Porsche Cup car at the Sim Racing Expo last year. So Porsche, they took the car that I'm currently driving, took one of those, and they made it into a simulator. So the entire car is essentially intact. I think they added some form of direct drive steering wheel system in there. But I think they left the entire hydraulic system completely intact, and they just used like a system pressure readout to feed that into the computer. Something like that. Felt incredibly realistic. And that simulator has a D-box motion system, but not for the whole car, obviously, because it's way too heavy, just for the individual seats. And they don't move a lot, but the feedback, the motion feedback that they give you is very informative and very nice for the immersion. And one thing that it does is when it brakes, kicks your seat forward a little so that you're pressed into the racing harness. And well, I don't want to push my entire seat forward. I just want the racing harness to pull on me. That's like my next thing that I want to look into for my rig. Ah, wall. And another one. Should I take this as a sign? Is anybody still watching, by the way? Chat is all silent. I think there is a lot of other more experienced streamers streaming right now. I think I saw Jimmy James and Tia all online and streaming. I will thus, in order to keep you, Luke, on board with this stream. I realize you're probably gone already, but I'll go to Laguna and I'll take one of the GT4s. Now, okay, I'm going with the Mark first because I sat in one of those at the expo. too quick. View completely wrong. Pitch 12 should do. Height seems fine. Let's move back a little. Works for me.
Low tire pressure, stay away from curbs.
Oh. Like nobody saw that. This car sounds beautiful. I still do want to increase the natural friction. I'm already on 35, but I feel like there's just not enough in this game. I guess it needs another X point of view to convince Aris that this could use some work. I looked at the wheels of the track. Can't brake there. Let's do over.
Low tire pressure, stay clear of the curbs.
Come on. Maybe I should put traction control back up to 1. Turn it off entirely. Why am I driving like this? It's not like I couldn't see that one coming. late of a turn in here, but I kind of like this car, and I feel like I'm getting the hang of it. Ah, damn it. The new pedals. So far they're doing pretty great. It's not just the pedals though. It's the what's under the pedals. I had. I'm not sure if you can see this. I don't know. I don't see what you're seeing, but the pros are up behind me on the shelf. On this sort of a pedal tray, not tray, pedal mount that comes with the GT Omega Titan rig, and that one is unfortunately quite flexy, and I replaced that with a massive black block that I ordered at SimLab. Some 80-20 profiles. Actually, is this 80-20? This is 80-40 profiles. Plus the base plate. It's a really like 1 centimeter thick metal plate that doesn't flex at all. And then a heel rest. And all of that is a lot nicer than what I had the pros mounted to. Now that's not at all about the pedals, but that's already a vast improvement over what this rig was before. So I'm really happy about that, even though quite expensive. I spent like 270 euros on a mounting solution for my pedals. Kind of crazy, but okay. The pedals themselves, they are definitely better than the pros, no questions asked. But how much better are they? And that's still what I'm trying to figure out. The software is better. The brake is better. Certainly it can take 65 kilos instead of 50. The clutch pedal has a stiffer setting. All three of them can be angled back, or they come in a position where they're angled fairly far back, so that if you sit high above your pedals, like in a road car, for example, it doesn't get uncomfortable. And that was one of my critique points on the pros, that they were standing so upright that in certain games, mostly for me kartcraft, for some reason, it got really like my shin after a while was just done, because I had to pull back my left foot so far off the brake in order not to press it all the time. It was just a strain on the shin. And now with these pedals laid back a little further, it's a more relaxing position. On top of that, I now have the pedals a lot higher compared to my seating position than I had previously with the pros, and all of that helps making things a lot more comfortable for the feet. Part of that is to the pedals, due to the them not being just as upright as the pros in their lowest config, but they have the flexibility. They can go all the way up there if you want them to. So that part is certainly better. The clutch goes a little stiffer. The brake goes a little stiffer. The brake is a little more flexible. Otherwise, though, like in terms of the readout precision, I'd say it's the same. The throttle has a very large travel. I actually have it now to the shortest of 5 positions with regards to travel, in order to be able to react fast and not have like a huge distance to cover with my feet in order to get it all the way down. So yeah, all pedals are more flexible, stiffer, the software is better, It's an all-round improvement. Once you're sitting in the car, though, once you've got them set up to what you like, the difference is no longer that big, because the pros, they're like 80% there. If the sprints are 100%, then the pros are like 80%. And once you're driving, you don't notice the difference that much once you've set them all up to your liking. And of course, with that goes also the question of the valuation. The pros were, I think, about 600, 620. The sprints are now 700. The question that I'm wondering is, if you have the choice between the sprints at 700 and maybe you can find a used used set of pros at 500, 450. I don't know what they go for, but I would say if the sprints are 700 new, then the pros should be 500 new, something like that. And maybe if you only have the choice between sprints for 700 and you find a set of pros for 450 or so, yeah, maybe it's probably like equal value, but maybe you just want to go for the pros, because once you're driving, they feel very similar to the sprints. Both of them use on the brake use just a rubber bushing plus a little spring. However, one difference maybe, if you're into this first bit of travel on the spring alone, which both of them have. So both of them use the rubber bushings, but both of them also have a spring, which is meant to kind of simulate the distance until your brake pads hit the discs, and from that point on, apparently a brake is supposed to be a lot stiffer. At least I guess maybe in race cars. I don't know. In my road car, certainly is not really. You can't really feel the point at which your brake pads actually touch the brake rotors or brake discs, but they're aiming to simulate that. And the spring in the sprints is stiffer than in the pros, and it feels better. So in the pros, I never got warm with a spring, and I ended up just removing it, replacing it with rubber bushings. In the sprints now, I tried it without the spring, but I kind of felt, no, the spring is actually nice. I do like how it feels, having like a soft first bit of it, and then getting a stiffer second stage, because there's not such a pronounced like threshold between the stages. In the pros, it was like a very soft spring, and then you sort of hit a brick, and then you had to use a lot more force to push it further. That is a little more smooth in the sprints. So what's more is in the pros, if you were using the sprint, the spring, if you were only depressing it a little bit, like getting the spring to like halfway pressed, then the brake pedal, it would have like a little bit of left-right wiggle room, depending also on fit in the production. Not every pedal had that problem to the same extent. Some it might be minimal, almost zero. I had one brake pedal where it was a bit extreme, and it had me lose confidence in the brake. So I had a second replacement brake pedal sent my way, and that was better. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. In these sprints that I've got here, there is no left-right slack whatsoever. Or maybe not whatsoever. Let me try it. There's I don't know. It's almost zero. Certainly, if you don't look down there, you don't notice it. You don't feel it at all. So yeah, that's one thing that's nicer about the sprints. However, still, if you've already got a pair of pros, should you invest another 700 into sprints? Certainly not. I think they're not 700 euros more valuable than the Pros. If you of course sell your old Pros, depends on what you get for the Pros, right? So I'm feeling, yeah, if you at the price level that we're talking about, between like we're talking roughly 600 euros for a set of pedals, right? If you can get rid of your Pros at say 200 below the sprints, then at that point that's somewhere around the mark where I think, yeah, you could think about upgrading, because they are a little better and they look better and they're more comfortable to use, and it's just a bit more of an evolved product. You literally see a lot of the issues from the Pros disappear in this set. Pros are great pedals, but the sprints they're just one step further in the evolution. That's not to mean they're perfect. They're not, but they're definitely better than the Pros. Yeah. So. Rubber noises. I've not noticed any so far. This is the second night I'm driving these, so yeah, I don't know. The Ultimates, I remember driving them in at the expo in the what was it, Actor Racer simulator, which I think was probably the second best there. It was like a crazy seven actuator system, that really threw you around, but it was a good system. It was well set up, and it was one of the few systems where the motion wasn't distracting from the driving, even though it was quite pronounced. So the Actor Racer system, that was a lot of fun, and that was, to the best of my knowledge, using Ultimates, and they felt pretty good, pretty smooth. I think I'm a fan of hydraulic dampers, to be honest. If only the pedals weren't that expensive. Would I take them over the sprints? To be honest, I don't think I would. They do have the dampers, which is nice, but I feel like once they get a replacement like the Pros. I mean, the Ultimates are basically beefier Pros plus hydraulic dampers. If they made the same thing for the sprints, then, and also price it comparatively at $1,500 or so, then those would certainly be really sweet pedals. Also really expensive pedals, but really sweet. I feel like that could be a great set of pedals for everybody that only wants the best of the best, no matter the cost. It would certainly play in the highest league of pedals. Yeah, but then again, I'm also really looking forward to the VRS pedals. If you've seen my Sim Racing Expo coverage last year about the VRS pedals, I had an interview with David, and I still have dreams about those pedals. They were silky smooth and just really nice, and it's been a while since the last update on those. I hope that there's going to be more in the future, but those were like almost on par with the SimTag pedals, which is almost 3,000 euros worth of finest hydraulic pedals, and they were hands down, they are probably like the gold standards in terms of pedals. It was a Tilton base, basically, with hydraulics and some electronics. Those are just great, but they're like almost 3K. So I felt that the spring-based, but with hydraulic dampers, VRS pedals, they felt really, really nice, and I just hope that they're getting to the market anytime soon. Um, okay, so the next question is about the how easy is it to set these pedals up compared to Fanatics? I've not spent a whole lot of time setting up any Fanatic pedals. At the company, I would usually go with the settings as they were, and I knew that there is no setting on the V3s, yes V3s, that satisfies me in any way. I'm not a fan of the Club Sport V3 pedals. I think the I mean, yeah, I don't want to trash talk them. I mean, I like the company. I'm using a lot of their gear. I'm just not a. I never got warm with the pedals at all. Um, I think the Club Sport. No, the Jesus Christ, smaller series CSL pedals, CSL Elite pedals. They are with the load cell. They're a good value at 200 to 20. I'm not sure what the pack of 3 costs, but they're a really good value at the price level. I would probably pick them over the Club Sport V3s, even at the same price, because no matter how much time I spend setting the Club Sports up, I would never get happy with them. They have too much travel. They are way too far tilted down, and I always had to overstretch my foot. I don't think they look very good. I think the CSLs look better, except in my pictures. Yeah, I like my picture better that I took of the V3s than of the CSLs, but I also never really got a like. I couldn't get used to the feel of the brake. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't. I would go for the CSLs. I've not tried the Thrustmaster. I don't know how good they are. The load cell pedals from Thrustmaster. But I would go for the CSLs, and stepping up from those, go to Heusinkvelds, to be honest. Or another brand. There's by now there's like a million copycats of Heusinkvelds, and they may be good as well. I don't know. There's I think Caravanjos from Russia, if I'm not mistaken. Those look quite interesting. There's a couple more that are similar to the Heusinkvelds that could be considered. But I feel like there's a distinct lack of pedals below, like between the 250 euro mark and the 700 euro mark. There's just a large gaping hole in which there are no pedals that I know that I would go for, except maybe a set of used pros at, I don't know, 450 or whatever they go for. I mean, all of this was just a pretty long, elaborated way of saying I don't really know how easy the Fanatics are to set up in comparison, but the ease of setting the Heusinkvelds up, it really depends on what you want to do. I feel like it's gotten better since the pros. Um, it's not yet perfect. Let me think. So, for example, in order to change the incline of the brake pedal, you need to unmount the brake pedal from your base plate, because you need to rotate one side of the non-painted metal holders that they're in, those metal pieces left and right of the pedal, um, that mount to the base plate. You need to first remove the screw by pushing a pin in, rotate the one to your desired position, then putting the screw back in, pushing the pin out, then rotate the other, and then pushing the screw all the way through. Which means since you got to do it out of sync, you have to remove the pedal from the base plate, which can be quite annoying, especially since I only had locking nuts and I don't have a ratchet tool. So removing locking nuts from a long screw without a ratchet tool is just hell. It takes forever, and just removing one of these pedals from my base plate will probably take me, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, or maybe 5-6 minutes. But then putting it back on is the same amount of time, and you're basically, the first 15 minutes I just spent trying to getting the pedal off and on again, and then there's like 2 or 3 minutes in actually changing what you want to change about the pedal in that case. Most other settings though can be changed without too much hassle. Some are a bit a bit of a hassle though. You can leave the pedals mounted, but then much of the settings are changed by pulling a screw out somewhere. So getting a nut off a screw, pulling the screw out, changing the slot that something attaches to, pulling the screw back in. But changing that slot is sometimes a bit difficult, because usually you have some center part and then you have 2 washers next to it, and you need to move all 3 simultaneously without losing anything. Sometimes you have to move those to a very precise position, and that could be somewhere between, like deep down in the pedals. So it's a bit annoying, and could take a minute or two to get it to the right place before you can put the screw back in. It's not ideal. There are certainly, you could over-engineer this to something better, but that might as well drive up the cost. And I feel like once you've set them up to your liking, it might take you 2 hours, as it did me. So I took about 2 hours to set them up, maybe 3, I don't know, without any driving really in between. Just, taking those pedals off, changing something, putting them back in, see if I like it, change it again, on and off, all with the freaking locking nuts. Really get a ratchet tool. I should too. But once they're set up, right now I don't have any desire to change anything. And one thing that is, again, really easy to adjust is the spring preload on all 3 pedals, the preload and the brake field. Those are very easy to adjust. Those are just, you get a tool to move to move some nuts around, or in case of the brake, you just swap out without unmounting anything. You can just swap out those bushings for plastic parts, swap out the spring for another bushing, whatever you want. It's done in 2 minutes. Very easy. So yeah, it's a mixed bag in terms of adjustability. Okay. Last year you did a series of videos on the ADAC Sim Racing Expo. That's true. How do you find the quality of the Cube Control Formula steering wheels? So I can't really say too much about the Cube Control quality. I think the quality of the build is fine. The one thing I love about the Cube Control Formula rims is they have a really thick grip. It's not that wide if you look at it from the front, but it extends in sort of a D shape to the back. I prefer the grip a lot over this. So it may be just as wide as this in this direction, but looking at it from here, it goes like this. And if you've got large hands, which I do, then a lot of steering wheels, such as this one, the grips are just really nimble and small, and it's hard to really wrap your hand around it. The Cube Controls Formula, I really dig the thick rubber grip on those. Ouch. Did I hurt this one? No. Good. otherwise, I think yeah, they do come with some plastic buttons that might not make the or rotary switches or something that might not make the very best impression on the highest level. But that's stuff that I personally wouldn't worry about too much. I think the quality is fine. Whether or not it justifies the price tag is another question. But I've only had them in my hands for maybe like a minute or so at the expo, and then also at my last job we had one lying around. But yeah, can't say too much about those. Oh, Mike is here again. Hey, Mike, nice to see you. It's like you're like my most regular. Um, I will get to my ACC settings for the DD1 in a second. I'm still sort of adjusting them, by the way, so they may not be final. No, I think for formula rims, I think the cube controls feel better than the Fnatic rims. That's for sure, because of the grip. I much prefer the grip, and had I stayed a little longer at Fnatic, I would have actually asked to make an exchangeable grip for the formula rims that would fit my hands. Um, uh, but I wasn't there long enough um, to do that, because if you start a project like that, you can't really do that if you already know that you want to leave the company. Um, otherwise, but I mean, they know that I want those thicker grips. They just have a lot of other developments going on, I guess, and it's not a high priority to provide thicker grips for the formula rims. On top of that, exchanging the grips on the formula rims while possible, and they will sell you exchange grips if you have your Alcantara worn down. Um, it is a bit of a hassle, and it's not too difficult to actually by accident clip a cable for the vibrators that are in there. So they probably don't want too many people to swap these things out, especially those that are not as I guess savvy when it comes to DIY stuff, or I don't know, handiwork on sim racing gear. I don't know if that's the case, but that might be playing into it, because like first time I did it, it took me, I want to say 45 minutes to an hour to change the grips on a Formula V2. Yeah, so and I got instructions from the from the guys at tech support at Fnatic, so I was sort of safe, and I was told to be careful with that one cable that is easy to snap. Um, um, uh, about the McLaren, um, I do know, I do know the story. Problem is I can't tell you, because as far as I know, my NDA is still in effect, and I would just not talk about it. Sorry. I know everybody wants that. I myself would love a 32 centimeter butterfly shaped steering wheel. I would love that, and um, maybe a little less plasticky than the McLaren GT3. But I would take it. I would definitely take it if it came back. I'm yeah. I I, I kind of hope they will have another wheel like that, or maybe they will bring it back out at some point. I don't know. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, I cannot discuss that. Um, Now, what was the other part? Why they chose to make smaller Formula steerings? I mean, I guess they had the original design for the original Formula steering wheel many years ago, and it sold really well. It was doing really well. I think a lot of people like it, and I think the 27 centimeter, that is a good size for a Formula steering wheel. The one pro about having a small steering wheel is that the forces at your hands are stronger. If you have a certain torque at the shaft, then the amount of force that you get at your fingertips, so to speak, decreases linearly with the size of the rim. So a smaller rim will feel like more torque. When they designed the Formula Carbon, or no, Formula, the first Formula rim, I think their strongest wheelbase at the time was the Club Sport V1 or V2, which was somewhere in the 5 to 7 Newton meter range. And there was a definite benefit to having a small diameter rim to make you feel as much force as possible. Plus, it's actually a realistic size for many Formula cars. Many like Formula One cars, smaller Formula cars, many of these cars actually use 27 or 28 centimeter rims in the real world. So it makes total sense to have a rim in that size. Personally, I would wish for a thicker grip, not a larger wheel, but a thicker grip. And on top of that, especially for the GT3 class and GT4 class, all of these cars in the real world by now, I think, are essentially using butterfly-shaped steering wheels at, let's say, between 30 and 32 centimeter diameter. And I perfectly agree that that is a size that feels really nice and just right. I was absolutely in love with the Mercedes AMG GT steering wheel. I sat down in the AMG GT4 that I'm currently in ACC here. So I sat down in the real thing. They had it standing around at the expo, and they, well, I guess YouTubers' advantage. They didn't let anybody, like, not everybody could get a seat in those, but I luckily was allowed to have a seat. And the steering wheel in that car is great. The same steering wheel is sold also by Fitech, and the guy is called Carsten. I also interviewed him at the expo. It's a 32 centimeter diameter butterfly shaped rim with thick grips. It's absolutely lovely. The problem with that rim is it is to the same standard as the actual rim in the real car. It is actually the rim. He buys those rims from Mercedes directly, and he's the only one to do that. And then his craftsmanship with regards to fitting those buttons and everything else is stellar, and he knows that, and he knows that he can ask for quite high prices. So I think that rim alone, with the buttons and stuff, is $1.5 grand, and that's the reason I don't have it yet. But I loved it, and I perfectly agree. 32 centimeter butterfly wheels, perfect for all GT3 and GT4 cars. I would love to have one. But I'm in the same boat as you. Let's just hope there will be something soon. Okay, let's see. Sim Racing 64 Mike has a lot of upcoming content. Helsingfeld review update out in the next few days. Mike, you're talking about sprints as well, and what are you updating? Sorry, I'm I'm not perfectly aware of your gear. What's it like sitting in a car like that? I suppose you mean the AMG GT4 that I sat in. It depends on how many cars like that you've sat in before. You sit in pretty low. It's pretty tight. I mean the the seat grabs you. Um, but it feels, it always makes you, it makes me at least feel a little special to be sitting in such a car. Um, Everything is pretty raw, and like the interior is stripped out, of course, and yeah, I like sitting in these cars. Um, I remember we had at the uni in somewhere in northern Germany. At my uni, we have a cafeteria, and in front of the cafeteria, there's like a huge space, and they had a like an old, I think it was a Ford Focus touring car from some certainly German touring car series, standing around. And of course, I mean, touring cars, they don't have locks, right? There was nobody watching the car. It was just like showing off. Okay, we're just putting a car here because we've got some like the University for Applied Sciences. They have some they train people to become like automotive engineers essentially, and they sometimes have these. They're sometimes involved with racing in some way, and anyway, that's certainly why that car was there to promote racing, I guess, or whatever. But nobody was watching the car for the entire day, and was sitting right there in the middle of the square in front of the cafeteria, where thousands of students walk past each day. Um, but I was probably one of the more interested people in that car, because like most university students, they don't give flying anything about cars or race cars in particular, but I did. So since those cars aren't locked, I just got in, took a seat in this sort of abandoned Focus touring car, which it smelled a little bit like oil and gas and rubber, I guess. A typical race car smell. Set really low. Everything is just bare metal, except for the seat and steering wheel, of course. It was really cool to sit in that, close the door, and then I noticed, well, those cars, they don't have door handles, right? They usually have some rope that you can pull on or something that will open the door, but I couldn't find it. And so I was kind of stuck in that touring car in the middle of the square in front of the cafeteria, which is sort of the center piece of the campus. I had to knock on the window to attract some merciful bystander to come and open the door from the outside. It was surprising to me that they would do that, to just leave the car open like that, because they have no locks. Also, they have no locks for the hood of the car. So I even opened up the front hood and had a look at the engine and stuff. So yeah, okay, that's just a little anecdote from earlier years. I've said in race cars like that before, I would say there's not a big difference between a touring car like the Focus and the AMG GT4. Of course, you have a more valuable car around you. It was certainly in a better condition than the Focus was. Pretty cool to sit in it. But yeah, if you've, I'm sure once you've sat in those cars like for the 10th time, you've gotten used to it, and then it's just another car with a stripped interior and a really low seating position and a seat that really wraps around you, which is nice. Right. I was expecting to do more driving and less talking, but I hope you guys don't mind. Yeah, I mean, at least we have a beautiful pause screen here in the game. So let me get back to the chat and see a little bit what's going on here. Okay. Young Daddy, I was expecting more podium products, such as pedals and wheels, but the company seems to be struggling with getting the software to work. Talk less of DD specific products. Yeah, I guess, I mean, there's a lot of development going on, obviously, at the company, and there have been some product releases, but it's a lot of effort to develop these products. It's since they produce in large quantity, and the production is in China. It's not just getting the design down, just ordering the parts, putting it together, and selling it. But it's a lot more involved if you have to have them mass produced to also deliver those prices that they do deliver. And yet they are expensive, but they are still a lot cheaper than those made in Europe or made in the US small series products, right? And all of this, what goes into the production in China, that takes a lot of time, I guess, and but that's the way to get the cheap cheap in quotation marks here prices for these rims, so that we can afford all of this stuff, right? So yeah, development just takes a long time, and then there's setbacks every now and then, and yeah, but also there's just a lot of products being developed at the same time, and but each product on its own is just a lot of effort to release, of course. I remember just during the time that I was there were those the button caps and sticker module. There was actually the entire Porsche lineup came out while I was working there. That was a lot of effort just to get right at the end. There were all those Black Friday rims, each of which is a product of its own, which goes through a lot of stages in the development process. So while there are quite a few people working in R&D at Fnatic, they're quite busy, and they are pumping out products at sort of a good rate, I guess. Of course, most people will have this one product that they're waiting for, right? I too would love to see podium pedals, but again, yeah, I wish I could talk about more details in the development process, but I can't. But yeah, I too would love to see podium pedals. I too would love to see a lot of things. I would love to see those thicker grips for the Formula rims. In general, I would like to see more rims with thicker grips, because to be quite honest, I don't like this here is a rather thin grip. I love the looks of this rim, but I wish it were a little thicker. But this even is the genuine Porsche one, right? So it is like that in the rear cars. So if you're waiting for a particular product, yeah, it's probably a product that they've thought about, but then they're just also busy with a lot of other products, and in the end, yeah, there may be a room for improvement also in the strategic decisions as to what products are prioritized at what time. But I mean, I guess your best chance, if you want to see a product really bad, and if there's a lot of other people who want to see the same product really bad, is to annoy TJ online when you see him around about it, and just make him feel how much you want a certain product. Right. Getting back to the chat. WDP99, welcome to the channel. Nice to see you around. Curious about my opinion on the Fnatic V3 elastomers. Do I recommend? So I've actually, sorry, you're maybe a few minutes late. I talked a little bit about the V3s earlier. You may want to just rewind the stream a little bit. I don't want to repeat all of what I've said before. What I can tell you is that I don't know them that well. I've used them, of course, on a semi-regular basis for while I was at the company. because those were most prevalent in the simulators at the company. But I've never really put much time into setting them up or anything. I can't give any good recommendations, to be honest. But when you want to hear my opinion, just rewind a little. Okay, where was I? Okay, C63 and the R. Wait, what? Wait, young daddy, are you saying you owned an R8 and an LP560? Damn. That's impressive cars. Okay, so now and thank you for highlighting me in the chat now, young daddy. Um, Makes it easier for me to find where I should read. Um, I will have a video when I do my review um, of the sprints, as well as the review of this big black block of SimLab parts that I have under my sprints. I would certainly include like a video where you can see how much or how little flex there is. Uh, from my impression, so I have a little bit of flex, but I don't think it's coming from the thick 1 centimeter metal plate that the sprints are mounted to in my case. And let me quickly show you. I don't see what you're seeing, so I hope that you are looking at my pedals now, roughly. So that plate that is under the pedals, I don't think that flexes at all, to be honest. I'm using the pedals at full force. I'm using the 65 kilograms because I like it. What I think flexes is the part of the rig that the whole big black block is mounted to, because that's certainly the thinnest part of metal anywhere around. Or maybe the entire frame flexes a little. But so let me push just, yeah. So this is probably 65 kilos right now, and I see the entire block leaning backwards a little. But I really think it's just the rig under it that's doing the flexing. I see my steering wheel move ever so slightly when I do this. It's not a problem. The rig now is, with regards to flex, it's fine. It's not a problem, but I don't think that the metal plate that I mount the pedals on is really flexing here. So, yeah. You can buy that one and have no flex. It's not a perfect product, but I guess I'll get to that when I do my review. Now my camera holder here is getting a little loose. Let's see. Okay, let me quickly check if my camera position is good again. It could be a slight touch lower. Okay. Damn it. Put this chat back on. Sorry to hear about your son. I'm not familiar with that condition, but all the best to him and your family. It sounds like a nice car to be driven around in, though, the Ghost. So yeah. Anyway, I think I've covered a lot of questions now, and I really want to get back to driving because I don't get to do this too much. Just too many things going on in my life right now, and yeah. But tonight is driving time, so let's get to it. Yeah, of course, I completely forgot the brake point again after talking for so long. Certainly too late. I just love how this car sounds. Oh, and I remember somebody asked earlier about the... Don't miss the breakpoint. Good. Somebody asked earlier about the settings that I have in my DD1 here for ACC. And I'm still setting them up, but from memory I'm currently using 80% of force feedback force. I'm in linear mode, so it's not that much. Steering rotation is set to auto for ACC. Jesus. And then I think the part that's most ripe for controversy is my damper settings. So I'm going with, I think, 12 on the dynamic damper. But right now I'm on 6T for the dynamic friction, because I like a good chunk of friction in the wheel. To me, that feels more realistic, because all real cars and go-karts that I've ever had the pleasure of driving had a good amount of friction in the wheel. And there is no simulation of the steering rack as far as I know in ACC, so there's nothing that would give us that friction from the simulation. That was late. Or maybe it was just right. Ooh, I think it was just right. But that was late. And then I have again, I have the inertia setting somewhere between 0 and 10. It might be 10 right now. The interpolation I have at, I think, 3. Ah. Fudge. bad lap. Yeah, I still gotta figure those 1 or 2 turns after the corkscrew out for myself in this car.
Well done, mate. Personal best.
Oh, that was late. Much better.
Well done, mate. The fastest lap so far.
Shit. That hurt. Good that this one's not a real car. Too late on the brakes here. Still one more lap. much better this time. But there's still time left in that turn. I didn't use all the track. Still too late, I hate it. And time invalidated. That's slow anyway. Hey, greetings back to the Bermuda Islands. Norman Robinson. I think if you were on, I think I recall you were on the stream and on the chat before, maybe a year ago. So let's see. Okay, yeah. Right. What to do next? Actually, do I maybe want to tweak the force feedback a little more in here? But maybe I want to go for a different car now. And track. You guys have any wishes with regards to car and track? Can be GT4, but doesn't have to be. Kind of curious about what kind of. It's this one. Okay, no, I don't like it. Kind of curious maybe about the Camaro. Oliver Hart. That's a much better porn name than that guy Petit. Maybe Suzuka? I don't see any recommendations from you guys yet, so yeah, maybe this is a decent enough combo to try. Kind of like the looks of the Camaro. Okay, now this time around I want to focus again, shift my focus again back to the force feedback settings. Quickly going through them to make it less guesswork. Yeah, sensitivity is auto, force feedback is 80, linearity is on, natural damper is 12, natural friction is 6T, natural inertia is off, interpolation is on 3, and everything else is 100. Why is everybody about the Ginetta? I don't think the car looks very good. Does it drive well? I tried it quickly in AMS2 yesterday, but it's like, tell you what, I'll go with this Camaro for a few laps and then I'll switch to the Ginetta.
Green light, go, go, go.
That view. And no, I don't like Zolder, but I can do Misano. Where are you from, by the way, young daddy? If that's a fair question to ask, you don't have to answer, of course. Height seems about fine.
Low tire pressure, stay away from curbs.
I don't think Imola is a choice in this game, really. I can do Monza, but nobody likes Monza. Well, I don't. This car has, like, it's interesting how the force feedback or the general car feel is different from car to car. This one has, I would say, much lighter steering than the Merc that I just drove in Laguna. And it feels quite nice, actually. I like how this drives. I also like the sound. It sounds more touring car-ish to me. With all those whistles when you get off the throttle. This high-pitched whine. The Merc was pretty... It sounded awesome. Oopsie. But it's nice that these cars are really... You can really feel a lot of difference between these cars. It's nice. I'm gonna slow down a little so I can get my force meter on screen here just to see, because this feels pretty low in terms of torque output from the wheel. So yeah, that was like 7 Newton meters in that turn. Essentially nothing. Yeah, I'm still sort of getting used to the higher required brake force a little bit. Because I'm more used to the 50 of the Hosenko Pros, and now I'm using these at 65. I like it, but I'm still getting used to it, so sometimes I just don't brake enough. Yeah, so this is giving me around 7.2 Newton meters most of the time, so I'm just gonna turn it up to 100. Luckily that straight is long enough for that. Oopsie, let's go this way. Whoa. Kind of forgot that it... I don't know. I think this car had the traction control off by default. Kind of caught me out. Okay, otherwise... It feels quite realistic what I'm feeling here for the wheel, so... I don't think there's too much I want to change. I'm now at like -9, -10, or 9 to 10 Newton meters of force in some of the turns. That's closer to what I like. Remember that this is a large rim, so 9 to 10 Newton meters isn't that much on a 32 centimeter wheel. Feels just right to me. Holy cow. Wow. I like how the wiper is just going up and down in the wind here, wobbling around on the windscreen. Too late. I think after this lap I'm gonna try and reduce the... too fast, damn it. That's what he said. So, let's see what the time is. Okay, 2 minutes 15. Let's stop this car for a second and see. I just want to try with the interpolation. I want to turn that down to 1 and see if that gives me a bit more of a direct feeling here. I mean, this car is heavy, I guess, in the real world, so it makes sense that it's a bit boat-like, and it's not the most precise driving feeling here. But I think ACC can get away with quite low interpolation values, unlike F1 2019, obviously. certainly lower interpolation here, interpolation on 1, tells you a little bit more about the curves that are under you. I think I like it. Uh-oh. Again. R130 every lap. Maybe I want to increase the inertia a little bit. Well, down to 10. Okay, and let me take this chance to read the chat a little bit. Okay, let me see. Nigeria. That's interesting. Another potential fast driver in action. Does that mean you want to leave the stream? Okay, let's see. Suzuka 5 a.m. Yeah, I kind of want to keep driving though in this coming on. Then I already promised I would go take the Ginetta to Misano. But I mean, I will at some point check that combo out, Suzuka at 5 a.m. So thanks, Mike. By the way, what ultimately got me into sim racing again after taking a break for about a decade was that I wanted to feel the most realistic, the most immersive sim out there, and I wanted to know how it is to drive a race car, because whatever I had when I was like 15 with a Logitech steering wheel on Gran Turismo, that was not the most immersive racing ever. So around 2014 I looked into sim racing again, and Assetto Corsa came about. That kind of got me hooked again, and so when I set up my settings and when I buy equipment, immersion is the first thing I'm looking for. It's always, to me, it's just like really cool to be in a simulator that feels really close to the real thing. And I mentioned earlier, I'm wondering about these seatbelt solutions that kind of pull on the racing harness, but also that means that I'm not tuning my steering wheel here, my force feedback settings, for ideal communication or lap time or any of that. I just tune it into what I think feels most realistic to me, how I believe such a car would feel to drive. And I think actually the inertia is helping a little bit. I think most people would leave the inertia off altogether, but it makes the wheel feel a little heavier. And somehow, to me, it's more convincing. So I put it on 10 now, and I like it. And that's also why I run those freakishly high values on the natural friction. Seeing a question directed at me, but I want to finish the lap first, and maybe add another one after it.
Well done, mate. Personal fastest lap.
Much better lap than the one before so far. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. Damn it. Alright, let's finish it anyway. Okay, so that was a 15-0 with some room. First of all, usually motion options are out of my price range. The cheapest one that I would consider would be the simrig.se platform at 3,000 euros. I'm gonna try that out again soon because that's here in town and the guy actually, the Simric SE main guy, I don't know, one of the guys there actually got me my job here, and and my car mechanic, who is also a rally driver in I think the European Rally Championship. That's like really cool. Anyway, the guy who got me my job, who works at Simric, we already had an appointment a couple of weeks ago, but because of the whole pandemic situation, he was feeling a little worried and he called it off. But I think we're going to reschedule soon, hopefully, because also here in Sweden, finally the numbers have started dropping. Like, wow. I don't know what caused it. There was no apparent change. Nothing was apparent to me that changed here in the behavior of people, but the numbers are going down. I'm really grateful for that, and I hope it stays that way. Because it would also mean that I could then reschedule with the guy, Sebastian is his name, and then I would get a good, a good impression, I guess, of their motion solution, which at 3,000 euros is one of the cheapest out there that can move the whole rig and not just the seat. And it's not also one of these. There's this weird, really lightweight stuff. I don't know what it's called. It looks more like a flight sim than like a racing sim, and I don't think it's suitable for like Hosingfeld pedals and direct drive wheels. I think that maybe in a similar price range actually. Anyway, I need to fiddle with that, and the thing is that at the Sim Racing Expo, where you have those motion rigs and a lot of them, you feel more the way they're set up than the actual capabilities of the hardware. A lot of the ones that I've tried have supreme capabilities to do all kinds of stuff hardware-wise, but I didn't like many of them. It's just it's difficult to get right. Actor Racer certainly got it right, and that was sort of immersion. Well, it was adding to the immersion. But the best that I felt at the Sim Racing Expo was, and I mentioned that earlier, was the Porsche Cup car, which only had a seat mover, but it was a 4-actuator D-box system under the seat, and that was set up very mildly. It didn't do much, but it just got you a little bit of like the road information, and most importantly, it pressed you into the racing harness, which gave you a very good feel for how strong you're braking at any point in time. So that is something that I'm looking into, and I've already mentioned it twice, I think, in today's stream. But I want to Google for this because I haven't done any research, but I feel like a couple of years ago I've seen such a system somewhere. I want something where I can put on a racing harness that just pulls on that harness. And that, I think, would be, both for the performance and for the immersion, would be a great help. The next thing I would do after that is probably a set of transducers. I have not ever experienced transducers, to be honest. But most motion rigs, they will give you like the big motions mostly. They move the whole rig, and then you have the G-forces, but there's also problems with that. And I will explain in a bit what I think is most problematic about motion rigs. But a butt kicker, or anything of that kind, I think will do wonders for immersion, from how I imagine it. And but I'm not. I will have to see about that. Of course, potentially you can probably set up a D-box motion system or another like the Simric SE to do similar things that a set of butt kickers would do for you if you really restrict them in with regards to travel, and just get like a high pass filter on those or something, and then they should do something similar. I don't know. I don't know if they are that responsive on the fast range. Probably not as responsive as transducers, but still it could be worth looking into with these systems. But ultimately you'd be getting a system that is capable of, or that was optimized for something entirely different. And I feel like for me, the next steps would be something, a harness pulling system, then set of butt kickers. And then I would probably reach the point where the only thing that made it better would be a motion rig. And I don't see myself willing to spend that kind of money with my personal financial situation and the the amount of money that I have available. For those who have that money to spend, it might be a great thing, but you really have to make sure that you get the right system and you set it up right, because a lot of these systems are more or less, they feel a bit gimmicky usually. And I also talked to Kelvin van der Linde at the expo, and he also he echoed that same impression, that to him, he doesn't use motion at home, even though he could probably justify the investment if it helped. But he doesn't use it, and he feels that mostly these things are more gimmicky. They give you something in terms of immersion, but they take away from your ability to drive the car precisely a lot of the time. He did not have that impression at the Porsche simulator, though. So yeah, we agree that one was pretty brilliant. But yeah, I would probably not want to spend that kind of money unless maybe if there's like a commercial purpose for it, if there's a racing center, yeah, of course. Those in a racing center, you basically gotta have a motion system, because of course it's awesome, of course it's immersive, and of course even people like me want to try that all the time, right? So yeah. But see, one problem with a motion rig is that, let's say this is your rig, and let's say the thing moves the entire rig, but it does, even if it's just moving. Let's say this is the rig, moves the rig. So let's say you brake, and this is the front of the car. So you brake, and car goes. Now, while it is in this position, you have a G-force that's going that way, and you can split that up into a you can do this force parallelogram in German. I don't know if parallelogram is a word in English, no idea, but you can split up the forces into one that goes in alongside the car's axis, and one that is 90 degrees offset to that, so it's orthogonal to that. And so you get a little bit less force that presses you down into the seat, but you get a little bit of force that pushes you forward. And that's usually the idea with these motion systems. That's for braking, and then for accelerating it would be the other way, to do it like this, so that it presses you into the seat. The thing is, the moment that you hit the brakes and the car does this, and it accelerates around this axis, it will actually, in that moment, push the seat into you to move you into this position. And that is the exact opposite of what you actually want to feel, right? When you hit the brakes in a car, you immediately get pulled to the front. You don't first get a kick in the back and then feel like a force pulling you to the front of the car. And that can be, I guess, a little bit confusing. And then of course also that's one problem, that you have these things. And I've heard of people who've, because of this, set their rigs up the other way. They would probably not go into a steep a position like this or something, just to give you the most brake force, but or the most feeling of being pushed towards the steering wheel. They would do like a smaller thing, but they would mostly use this acceleration, this rotational acceleration that the rig can do for you, to do the exact opposite, to kick you a little bit to the front when you accelerate, and a little bit to the back when you brake. because that initial moment, it will be the correct feeling. And if you then don't overdo it with the overall angle of your rig, I guess then the later effect of gravity pulling you into the opposite direction won't be as notable anymore. Now, I have no idea how I would set it up. I've not had the time yet or the opportunity to set up a motion rig and really play with it for a long time. But I'm hoping to get that at SimLab. At SimRig SE. Since they are here in town, it's literally a 15 minutes drive, or 20 minutes maybe, from my place to where they are, and I hope to get that done sooner than later. Because they are willing to give me the time to set up the thing. On the downside, they don't currently have direct drive wheelbase in their system. They're using some Thrustmaster stuff, but yeah, maybe that won't be too bad for the motion rig itself, to just set it up. Anyway, I'm seeing there's more action in the chat going on. Sorry, I apparently spoke too fast. Now that's 5 minutes ago or so. I don't remember when you said that. Okay. Have you ever heard of the company which is changing the entry price point for 4 or 5 DOF system? PT Actuators. I've not heard of PT Actuators. I will quickly open a tab so I won't forget about them. I'm curious about that. PT Actuators. Yeah, but I will not read through it now, just as a reminder for later. Okay, and then Young Daddy goes, butt kickers work better. Yeah. So, Young Daddy, I think I agree with you, but I haven't tested it yet. But basically, you're echoing my opinion here that the having 4 actuators at the 4 edges of the chassis plus 1 for the engine will probably provide you with the best immersion. That's also what I think, because these motion systems usually, they probably won't be just as fast in changing direction. They can't vibrate like a transducer can. They're not built for that anyway. And you'd just be wasting a lot of money if you get them just for that. So I agree with that. Not all rigs have the real possibility of attaching that many butt kickers to your rig. And then of course there's the issue of them requiring amplifiers that you got to put somewhere and so on. So on this rig, for example, that I'm in, the GT Omega Titan, it's not built for butt kickers. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to mount transducers to this thing. Haven't really thought about it yet. But probably I wouldn't get 5 because 5 means you need 3 stereo amps. At most I would go with 4, but maybe I would start with 1 or 2. Maybe 2, 1 left, 1 right. And then I don't know how well suited this rig is for these kinds of transducers, because the amount of flex in the rig will have an impact on how it feels. I would say I'm not sure if the stiffest possible rig is the best solution for an elaborate transducer setup, because you needed to transfer those vibrations to you to some degree. And if it's perfectly stiff, how would you feel the difference between like how would you locate the source? I'm not sure. Because a perfectly rigid rig, it would just be, the entire thing would just be moved, and you couldn't, like in a theoretical toy example, you couldn't feel where the vibrations are coming from, right? But all real like all real rigs have some flex, so that might not be an issue. So it might be the case that in the real world you want to rig as stiff as possible. This is certainly not the stiffest rig out there. There's certainly like the P1X SimLab rig, for example, will be notably stiffer than this one. This one has other advantages, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure that this rig is perfectly suited for a elaborate setup, but yeah, maybe at some point I will find out, or maybe by then I will have another rig. I have no idea. The Sim Experience G5 seat. Norman, did I meet you at the sim racing? Were you at the sim racing expo? Did I meet you there? Because I feel like there was a guy with a similar name who was always like a strong proponent for the Sim Experience G5 seat. And if you were there, then how are you at the BIM? I don't know. I've never tried the G seat, and I don't think Sim Experience was at the expo, to be honest. At least if they were, I didn't see them, and that's unlikely. I've not tried the G5 or any Sim Experience seats so far. The Traction Plus, that is this yaw only motion solution, right? If I'm not mistaken. The one rig where really that really had yaw motion and had it implemented in a nice way was again the Actor Racer rig. I honestly I would have to play with it. I'm not sure that yaw motion adds all that much to me personally in such a rig. I struggled to notice it while in the rig, and then I saw later in the video that it was doing quite some larger movements, the rig, but I hadn't really noticed them too much. But yeah, for me personally, a yaw rig that makes the whole thing really big usually, and it's not something I would consider for myself, unless I fall into a lot of money. Yeah. For now, my thinking is racing harness that just pulls, and possibly transducers at some point for immersion. I see. Okay. Yeah, I was a little bit confused because there's Norman. I think there's a guy with a similar name who was at the X, but he was German, and then the whole Bermuda thing was just confusing me a little bit. So he was just like advertising the Sim Experience G5 seat the whole time, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they are the greatest things in sliced bread, and maybe they're not. I don't know. Right. So much for this portion of the talking. I want to get back to some driving. I think I'm happy with the force feedback setup, and I'm getting a little bit tired. So I think I want to do one last stint here. I want to quit this one, and I feel like I promised the Ginetta at Misano. So let's do that. Okay, there's only one livery available here. Which of these guys do I like best? Now this one sounds like a guitar. I'll go for it. Okay. And Misano. Okay.
Green light. Go, go, go.
View settings. I feel like is there view settings in the options? Maybe I should just. It seems weird to me that I have to set this up for every car new. Uh, 12 degrees and distance minus 12, and I'm happy. All right, save, quit, drive. Pit limiter, first gear, throttle.
Low tire pressure. Stay clear of the curbs.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know that I'm... Okay, this only has a pit limiter in first gear apparently. So this is where I'm supposed to push the button. Oh, cold brakes. Oh, these are the curves that I'm supposed to avoid with the cold tires, right? Traction control seems a little high. I don't see the apex because of the A-pillar here. I'm sitting so close to this. Maybe a bit of a design flaw. Maybe it would be better in VR if I could just like look around it. But yeah, I don't see the apex here. That is so weird. Oh, yeah, that. You guys didn't see this, right? I was just way too late on the brakes, so not even gonna try. I think I like how this car drives. Didn't expect that. another thing where I would like a racing harness is that every time I step on the brakes, I'm pushing myself up the seat. And I feel like a harness would just clamp me down more. I will admit this combo is a lot of fun. Thank you for the advice. I think Young Daddy requested this one. It's really nice. There is some life in this car. I'm not yet pushing it enough to really bring it on the edge and make it live like that all the time. But I feel like there is something here. And it's fun. Maybe I should stick it into first in that turn? I don't know. First valid lap here.
Well done, mate. This has been your personal best.
Too late, too late. Ah, shit. I'm wondering if I'm always driving this car one gear too high or if it's just right. Certainly too late. Whoa. Yeah. Whatever. Damn it. I mean, this track is awesome when you get into the rhythm. But if you're out of it, it's just horrible. See, that now was a lot better again. That was fun. Messed it up again. Otherwise a good lap. Let's try it again. Nope, 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 nope. Das ist nicht gut. I'll try a lap without traction control now. That was too tight. This car is quite drivable without TC. I want to brake later now at the end of this kind of straight. For that fourth gear turn, let's see if that works. Nope, doesn't. That drift though. probably a good breaking point. A little too shy on the throttle, the exit, but yeah, this is absolutely a shit ton of fun, this car on this track. Absolutely love it. My driving sucks, but it's fun. I think I'm giving it one more lap after this one, and then it's sleepy time for me. Well, let's call this a signal. Enough for the night. Okay, if anybody's still watching, it's 1:30. Right, well, let me quit the game so I can also quit the stream. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. This has been a lot of fun, and I think we had a lot of interesting discussions. I talked a lot this time, but I hope that you guys found it at least somewhat interesting. And yeah, so pedals good, big black SimLab box good, force feedback settings good. Didn't get to try AMS2 again tonight, unfortunately. There's one combination that I want to drive soon. It's the, it's like a 94, no, like a 92 Formula car, maybe 1991, 92, I don't know. Formula 1 car on Imola. I tried that yesterday, it was great fun. So much throttle control of this car, amazing. But yeah, it's pretty late now, so I should call it quits for the night. So let me find the button for that. I've got it. Okay, so this is Leon for the Sim channel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day or your night, and see you in the next stream. Bye bye.